the role of the Prophet. There can be no revelation as far as the Quran as a book is concerned without the role of the Prophet. And this role is not just as a receiver, but as a messenger. And the messenger is different. I mean, even in the theory of communication, the message and the messenger are defined in as one.
You mean the message and the medium? Or no?
والرسالة. Yeah, there is no the message defines the messenger. You cannot be defined as a messenger without having a message.
Yes.
This is a concept. So the Quran itself as a message really cannot be understood fully without the messenger. And that is the fundamental enduring relationship between the Quran and the Sunnah. And so for those who and then in explicit terms, the ayahs in the Quran are very من أطاع الرسول فقد أطاع الله وما أتاكم الرسول فخذوه وما نهاكم عنه فانتهوا. The ayahs are multiple in specifying the relationship itself, but the very notion of two separate categories is problematic. So that is where I thought revisiting the idea of understanding the Quran and the Sunnah in relational terms, in relation to each other, is so important to particularly in response to this debate or controversy between the opponents and the proponents of the Sunnah.
So you only have a comment, no question?
Yeah, that's common.
You have any?
Well, I would say, just for the sake of accuracy, that most of the people who consider themselves opponents of the Hadith do not consider themselves opponents of the Sunnah. And we see that reflected in Shafi's opponent, who said following the Sunnah is following the Quran. So that the external things are, not the Sunnah. So there is actually a debate over the very nature, which is why Shafi's association with the hikmah, the Sunnah with the hikmah, and making them two separate things was a key element in Shafi's argument, because the opponents of the akhbar in that period and the opponents of the hadith today are arguing that the way to obey the messenger is to follow the Quran, and the Sunnah of the messenger is the Quran. There's a fellow named Naveed who wrote an internet book a number of years ago called The Quran, the True Sunnah of the Messenger. So there is that debate, which is why Shafi felt it so important to elaborate that the Kitab and the Hikmah are two separate things. So Shafi's separation of those two things was in response to the argument that his opponents were making, that they in fact were following the Sunnah by following the Quran. So Shafi made that distinction in response to that.